Welcome back to the SNES library. I am the curator, and last time on Famicom Tantei Club we found out that Mr. Hibino is in fact the son of Uchida. And now we're in front of the high school. Everything's grey. Everything's gloomy. If you listen closely, if I bump up the volume, you can hear the sound of the wind floating through the walls and windows and the cracks in the walls to make a sound that somehow resembles that of a crying girl. And it's definitely just the wind, or a creaking door, or the vibrations of a mirror that is not flush against a wall but in between two hallways, like a separating wall in place of it. I don't know if that would make a sound. I'm not a mirror specialist. But it's definitely not a ghost. Let us not indulge the title of this chapter and accept that insanity as truth, because it's not the truth. It's so bleak out here, as though the clouds could break any minute. No one's outside. Haven't heard it yet, but I definitely heard it last time when I cut off the video. It's so bleak out here. This would be a great time to go to the old building. This is the old school building. Hey, wall. It's the wall that doesn't get plastered. In this lighting it looks so much more out of place, you know. Open. Open? Hang on. Ugh! Is there anything happening? We have... This is good. We have an open command. That means something is going to happen somewhere around here. We're finally going to open this bitch. Oh, detective. Mr. Hibino came through here a short while ago. He seemed awfully angry about something. Right, he also got mad because we kept suspecting Hooray of stuff. Also, why is it in the dark? Turn on the light, you fool. Please, bring some resolution to this case. Set the principal's mind at ease. I'll set his ass in jail. I wonder what the matter was. Yes, I'll talk to him about that. Time around? The last I saw of her was yesterday, when that student was injured. Hang on. So it's still the same day as the day when it was the holiday. So Hibino was here on the holiday, this guy's here on holiday. What are y'all doing here? Just as the principal leaves us, we're forced to deal with a crisis. She seems to have handled it well, though. The principal is currently away on business. Where, though? Can we check that? Looks like rain. Yeah. I've not heard the rain. I swear yesterday, after I cut off the video, I heard the sound. I'm not crazy. Am I crazy? Anything else? Doesn't look like it. No? Okay. Wait a sec. Didn't Miss Hayama say she had to tell the principal about the student's injury? If Hayama can verify that she contacted the principal while he was away on his business trip, then that would confirm his alibi. Where does she live? Have you seen Miss Hayama at all today? No, I haven't seen her lately. By lately means since yesterday, which wasn't all that lately. I don't know when she'll be back. I assume she's visiting the student at the hospital. I hope she gets back before the rain hits. Can we go to the hospital? No, it's not a thing. Where's the hospital? If Hayama can verify... Yeah, you said that. But I don't know where the hospital is, and I'm too shy to ask this man. Well, then maybe we have to go to the school ground and we'll run into Ayumi or something. I need to get going soon as well. Better safe than sorry, if you ask me. This storm's going to be a nasty one. This sure is one foul day, Ryuji. Can't you feel it? There's just something in the air. Fernando, it feels dreadful. What if the storm blows open the wall, even if just a tiny bit? I don't want to go back to the art room, but I mean, after that shit that Komada pulled yesterday, but sure. Are you still here? Hey, you asshole. You're also in the dark. Turn on the light, for fuck's sake. Ryuji, what's with the long face? Was it something I said the other day? Angry look. I really don't think Principal Hooray could be a killer. It's absurd to even think of such a thing. I just wonder where the hospital is. There was a sound again. I heard it. Principal was the owner of a large black car 15 years ago, correct? Yes, he did own one a long time ago. But seeing as how the principal was away on business at the time of the Goro murder, how could he be the killer? Principal Urabe is not a murderer. I will hold no more of these pointless conversations. Good day. Wow. Rude, I guess the light was on. God. There are certainly a lot of black cars out there. And furthermore, the principal is supposedly away on business. If Principal Urabe was truly away on business at the time of the Goro murder, then Komada's right. He couldn't have been the murderer. Taking away the possibility of Urabe, my next best lead is now Mr. Hibino. Let's get out of this dark-ass room. Hi. Hey, Ryuji. Ayumi. I've discovered so much since I last saw you. Also, what are you doing here? Sorry, I can't talk right now. I've got to take a makeup test for Mr. Hibino. Are you doing bad in school? I missed a ton of stuff that day. I chased Mr. Tazuki to... Oh, really? You skipped school for that? I mean, I guess you did. I'll try and meet up with you at the office later on the day. Unless I get caught in the storm. Hate this weather. Yeah, it's very windy and the sound is coming. It's definitely the wind then. The crying girl is a wind. Through the cracks or something. Yoko always used to say, I wish I didn't have to be in school on a day like this. Why? Because the wind makes weird sounds. The clouds look just like they did the day it happened. Usually it feels like she's standing behind me all the time anymore. Sheena was somewhere inside that school. There's just no other explanation. Also, are you seriously making her... I mean, if Hayama left with an injured student yesterday, that means that today is still that holiday. Are you making her do a makeup test on a holiday? Like, Jesus Christ. See you soon, Yuji. Oh, this is weird music. I have reason to believe Shinobu is still somewhere within Ushimitsu High School. There's no doubt in my mind. What could Yoko have meant when she said that? That her spirit was still roaming the school in the guise of the girl and back? No! Stop saying that, wait a second. If the bloodstained girl Miss Hayama saw was Shinobu, alive but wounded, And that black car must have made a stop here on the night of the Kaneda murder. Is it possible Yoko meant the killer hid Shinobu's body somewhere inside the school? Ah, he's finally getting to my point here. Before anything else, I need to verify Urame's alibi. It seems Miss Hayama holds the key to all the answers at this point. But we can't go to the hospital! Shinobu may be hidden somewhere within the school. Even now. What an unbearable thought. Well, I'd rather have this weird music than the weird sounds. You know, it's the second time that it's happened now that I see these two black dots at the bottom of the door as like feet. I see someone standing here, shadowy person, and it always freaks me out. Like, god damn it, it's the second time that happened. It's just that I'm a... If you've watched me play Clock Tower, you know that I am a very quiet person. Like, when I get scared, I just am deer in headlights silent. I don't react in a way that's entertaining in that sense. So where do you go then? He's gonna be gone, right? This is staff room. Well, he's gone. I just wanna know where the hospital is. I'm starting to get worried. I've got to find Miss Hayama soon. Standing all the way out here isn't gonna help. Makes me wonder though. Why would Miss Hayama have come by here while running home? It's an awfully big detour. How long ago was this building? Like, they say they don't use it anymore. Did they still use it 15 years ago? Like, did she come through here? Like, did she leave her homework in this building? That's a thing. That is a thing. Beauty? Oh, how convenient you just happen to be here. In this place. Miss Hayama. What are you doing out here? What are you doing here on a holiday? What is everyone doing here on a holiday? God damn it. Miss Hayama, did you manage to get a hold of Principal Urabe yesterday? I called the hotel he said he was going to be staying at. But they didn't have any record of him ever checking in. Really now? After I got off the phone with the hotel, I called his house and spoke with him there about the injured student. Why? What's wrong? The principal's alibi is falling apart. What are you doing out here? I can ask you the same question. Someone double parked and blocked the gate, so I had to come through here on my way in. Oh my! That's right. I remember now. That's the reason I had to come through here 15 years ago, too. There was a car out there, blocking the gate. So I ran through here instead. Was it a black car? Was it a black, big, black, burly-ass car? It was a big black car, I think. Yes, I remember it looked familiar. Familiar. It wasn't there when I arrived at the school either. Whoever it was got there after I did. It's Hayama. I have reason to believe Shinobu's body was hidden in the school that night. You say you saw a large black car here at the school when you ran through here. Shinobu may very well have been in that car. Shinobu was here that night. If that's true, then there's only one place she could be. Ryuji, are you thinking what I'm thinking? Are you thinking what I've been thinking for like 10 episodes now? I don't know, let's see what Ryuji is thinking. Yum 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 yum. Good job, Ryuji. Shinobu may be hidden somewhere in the school even now. What an unbearable thought. Oh, the open command is gone. Shinobu is somewhere within the school. Yeah, it's fucking... Look. It's possible. The criminal must have stuffed her body in that wall and sealed it over with plaster. If that's the case, then I think it's time for another chat with Mr. Tazaki. I think this is where I better get the final word from that shifty janitor. What's wrong now? But that wall. On the night of the Kaneda murder, was it really you who plastered the wall? Yeah, of course it was me. You still don't trust me, do you? I want to trust him, but... Did you see a large black car anywhere at the school that night? There was somebody. There was somebody at the school? Why do you keep asking so much about that stupid wall? You still don't trust me, do you? The fact is, I have reason to believe that there's conclusive evidence for the Kaneda case in that wall. In other words, the murder weapon may have been sealed inside it, along with Shinobu Hasakawa herself. What? Mr. Tazaki, have you told me the entire truth up until now? Well, no, I mean, not really, I guess. What do you mean, I guess? It was me who plastered that wall, but after I laid the plaster, I decided to take a walk and clear my head while it dried. I accidentally left my bucket of plaster there, so it's possible somebody could have stuck her in there and resealed it while I was away. That's what really happened. Really. It doesn't really add up though. I mean, Tazaki only told Urabe that he plastered the wall the next day. Did Urabe just come here and happen to see that he plastered the wall up? I was like, oh, this is a very convenient setup that this guy just happened to leave here for me. You really think Shinobu's in the wall? I know I sound suspicious, but I swear I'm telling you the honest truth. Hey, there's something else. The next morning when I went to get my power drill, I noticed something. It looked like someone had been using my tools. I was sure of it. That's what really happened. I never thought anything of it till now. These aren't really the kind of details that ever seem important. I've got to see what's in that wall. Itsuki needs to know about this too. Please, find the killer soon. Please. But, well, It can't be the principal. It just can't be. You won't do anything to him, will you? If he's the killer, you're damn right I will. So, you believe Shinobu's body is sealed into a wall at the old school building? Well, Ryuji, I can see you've worked quite a lot out. I assume you probably have a suspect in mind by now. Ryuji, I've come to some conclusions as well. I know who the owner of the pen is. The question is, do you? The owner of the pen It's this person, right? It's probably him, yeah. Correct. We need to be very careful of the principal from here on out. He's very intelligent and could do anything at this point. Could the killer really be Principal Urabe? Boss, that wall. I know, Ryuji. We'll get to it in due time. Right now, we need to focus on apprehending Urabe. I'm going to be monitoring the situation from the police station. Good work, Ryuji. We couldn't have done it without you. I can't believe it. Despite all this recognition, could the principal be nothing more than a common criminal? When he was talking about his grief for Yoko and his trust in Tazaki, I didn't get the slightest suspicion that he was lying. Didn't you hear his music? That's villain music, however. If he's the killer, why did he corroborate Tazaki's alibi? Wait, of course. God, I'm such an idiot. Provide an alibi for himself as well. For all I know, he could have even been planning to reveal the lie if he ever became a suspect, to throw suspicion on Tazaki. The real criminal, Principal Urabe. Hang on a second. If all this is true, then Urabe must have murdered Genjiro, Goro, and Yoko as well as Shinobu. The 3 current murders make sense, but why would he have murdered Kaneda 15 years ago? Doesn't add up. Hey. It's Detective Agency? Detective, I'm going to share with you something not many people know. Principal Urabe is far from what you think. A long time ago, this so-called good Samaritan had a hand in Mr. Kaneda's shady affairs. What? Who is this? Someone who hates the lowlife from the bottom of his heart. Let me tell you, he's at the school right now. He's what? Hello? They hung up. They only disguised their voice halfway through. Oh no, I left Ayumi at the school all by herself. She's in danger. Ayumi, you're safe. What's going on? Usually lets out a sigh of relief as he finds Ayumi and Hibino safe in front of the high school. Late at night on a holiday for a makeup test, like god damn it. Ayumi, did you see the principal? Anywhere? No, I didn't see it. Anybody in there but Mr. Hibino. I was in the classroom the whole time, though. Taking his test, so I really couldn't be sure if anybody else was in there or not. Mr. Hibino was supervising me to take the test the whole time. I don't think he'd know either. The principal isn't back yet from his business trip. Really? I just got an anonymous tip at the office just a minute ago. They said the principal is here right now. We've got to get to the principal's office. It's locked from the inside. Yuji rams the door as hard as he can. Don't tell me he's dead as well. There they find Principal Urabe face down on his desk, lying in a pool of blood. Fuck! Principal Urabe. Did Shinobu kill him, or was it suicide? Those are the 2 options I have. Everything was locked. Even the windows. Right, it all was locked. We have a locked room murder on our hands here. What in the world? He's already gone. He appears to have been stabbed. He wouldn't stab himself, no. There's an envelope over by the body. Inside the envelope, Ryuji finds a note written on school letterhead. To whom it may concern, I dare not call myself an educator any longer, after having allowed myself to commit so many atrocious crimes. You see, I was once nothing more than a henchman in the late Mr. Kaneda's schemes. But before long, he started to get in my way. So on the night of November 10th, 15 years ago, I murdered him in cold blood. It would have been the perfect crime, had it not been for the single eyewitness, Shinobu Asakawa. To my astonishment, she had seen everything. So as she tried to escape, I pursued her in my vehicle. It was then that I ran her down and fled the scene with her body in my trunk as fast as I could. All these years I had kept the secret hidden, hoping no one would ever find out. But then, suddenly, two people appeared who knew of my dark past. One was a detective by the name of Yoko Kojima. I watched helplessly as she uncovered the facts one by one, inexorably approaching the truth. The other was Goro Kaneda. It was then that I realized he must have seen me flee after I had murdered his father. This sudden shock was simply too much for me. Fearing my secret would be exposed, I took the matter into my own hands. Once again. And silenced Yoko and Goro before either could reveal what they knew. The fool that I am, I only afterwards realized that these acts would ultimately seal my fate. I only regret I hadn't realized earlier there was no need to hide the truth for so long. And so I die in shame. Please, believe me, for I am but a shell of a man. Forgive me. I was left no other choice. Tadashi Urabe. They say he was stabbed. Would you commit suicide by stabbing yourself? Let me bring up my other theory. What if Urabe is such a nice guy that he protected Shinobu from the punishment because she murdered Kaneda? What if Shinobu stabbed him now? But he wasn't quite dead, so he locked the door and wrote a note to still fucking protect her. I don't know. We'll have to find out. No! So this is it. Principal Urabe of all people was a cold-blooded murderer. And so Ryuji now realizes the phone call must have come from Urabe himself. A last-minute cry for help. Principal. Come on. Let's head back to the office. We need to contact the authorities. This can't be. Principal Urabe is no murderer. I can prove it. You see, I'm the killer! If only you hadn't come along. Ryuji? I would have gotten away with everything. And he'd still be alive. You would have gotten everything if you hadn't said anything now. Ever since that day 15 years ago, after my missing father phoned me to say he'd taken poison, I made up my mind that I had nothing left to live for, except to see Genjiro Kaneda die by my own hands. I left my own last words on the principal's answering machine, then took a knife to Kaneda. That's when Shinobu came in and saw everything. Genjiro lying on the floor, the bloody knife, and me. Murderer? Standing there in shock, I quickly realized what I had to do. She knew it as well as I did, and ran. It wasn't long after she escaped that I heard the sound of screeching brakes from down the road. When I caught up with her, I saw a black car there, stopped just in front of her. Shinobu was lying on the street, motionless. It was Principal Urabe. He'd got my message and came hurrying to stop me. But he was far, far too late. So after quickly stuffing her in the trunk, we drove to the high school. I dragged her into a remote classroom in the abandoned school building, leaving her there for dead. I watched her lay there, regretting ever getting either of them involved. But then, a second later, I looked back at her and she wasn't there. She was standing at the window, crying for help. She'd only been unconscious. Looking out the window, I realized there was a girl down there. I thought for sure she'd seen us. I couldn't take it. My mind went blank. Next thing I knew, I was holding a broken vase and Shinobu was lying at my feet. Looking down at her, I knew she wasn't going to get up this time. After that, I ran home as fast as I could. The next day, I went to see the principal, who said this to me. Forget everything. The principal helped me, and Goto knew it all along. That weasel. I only wish I'd killed him sooner. Seeing an opportunity, Ryuji grabs Ayumi's hand, and together they rush out of the room, instead of grabbing the knife while he's clearly distraught and not paying attention. No. Not that way. It's a dead end. No, it's the mirror. Suddenly Ryuji realizes they've taken a wrong turn, as they come face to face with the huge mirror. There's nowhere left to run. They're trapped. Oh no! Ryuji! Ayumi and Ryuji turn as pale as ghosts, as they hear Hibino's footsteps slowly draw closer and closer. Yoko once confronted me, right where you stand now, asking me this. Sir, back in the old days, you killed someone, didn't you? As I stood there, staring at her, I saw her face turn from doubt to anger to fear, taking on an expression that was the exact same as Shinobu's 15 years earlier. As the forgotten feelings of guilt and animosity suddenly overwhelmed me, I suddenly cried out. Yes, that's right. I killed you. I killed you 15 years ago, and I'll kill you now. In a blind rage, I wrung her little neck right then and there until long after she stopped breathing. Oh my god. I hadn't meant to kill her. In a fit of confusion, I just dropped her body there and ran home. However, they found a body in a runoff miles from here. Why? She died here. Why did they find her there? No matter. I'll make sure no one finds you nearly as easily. I've managed to keep the secret safe until now. And I don't intend to stop here. Ryuji! As Hibino lunges, Ryuji pulls Ayumi out of the way just in the nick of time. As Hibino lunges, Ryuji pulls out of the time. Hibino's knife strikes the mirror, shattering into 1,000 pieces. Turning away from the mirror, Hibino once again confronts the two. But then suddenly... Ah! That's where she were. From behind the mirror, a skeleton dressed in a schoolgirl uniform falls onto Hibino. Shinobu! Mitsuki, and Maruyama suddenly come rushing into the scene. They can do nothing but stand there, staring in disbelief. Ryuji, that day in the mirror. This is what Yoko meant all along. Saying this, Ayumi faints. Ayumi! Ryuji carries Ayumi away, far from the crime scene. Well, Ryuji, that really was something, wasn't it? I owe you my deepest gratitude for doing all you did. And Hibino would have gone away with it if it wasn't for himself just giving up all of a sudden. Everything was set out, but he just fucking snapped. He would have totally gone away with it. I did nothing. The case solved it fucking self. We never could have done this without you. I literally did nothing at the end there. I figured out nothing. Everything just was tossed at me at the very end. And so the two talk at length about everything that happened. So Hibino was the source of his own undoing. Yep. He just told me everything all of a sudden. Yep, Shinobu's body wasn't in the old building after all. Uri must have put her behind the mirror after she was murdered. That's probably why Mr. Tazaki said his tools looked as though they'd been used. I bet it was the principal who dumped Yoko's body into the river as well. He sure got in over his head when he agreed to help Hibino lie. I recently learned Urabe never even dealt with kinda until the murder happened. But he did have a secret of his own to hide. He killed Shinobu, even if it wasn't an accident. Huh? I thought Hibino killed her by smashing her head with a vase. Yes, that's what he claimed in his confession. But forensics has told me that while such a blow would have caused massive damage to her skull, no signs of any such fracture were found, and not even delivered post-mortem. In other words, they're telling me Shinobu died in the car accident. But that doesn't make sense. Why would Mr. Hibino have claimed she was yelling at the window if she died in the accident? Don't tell me you're still hung up on that ghost story angle, aren't you? But seriously, there's something I wanted to talk to you about. I mean, Hibino was clearly not in control of his own mind. He probably just imagined that. It's the old Lady Macbeth thing. Blood on his hands. Which is why he just started yelling out again. Yep, it's it. It was me. I did it. Out of nowhere. I'm unhappy with the ending. I'm gonna be honest with you. That... I mean, it's just not satisfying when the detective story doesn't end with the detective solving the case. Just a guy saying, I did it. And here's how I did it, and then, like, everything. I wanted to find Shinobu myself in the old pit. I wanted to open the fucking blasted wall and go in there. I'm unhappy with that. I'm unhappy with that. Ayumi. Not her uniform for once. From this day forward, she will be a full-fledged employee of the Yatsubi Detective Agency, same as you. And that's where she is in Famicom Tantei Part 1. Isn't it neat, Ryuji? I can't believe it. After all we've been through, I'm going to be your partner now. I'm still trying to get over what happened with Yoko and Shinobu. By the way, what's the word on Mr. Hibino? Well, I hope he's finally free of the demons that had haunted him for so long. I just hope he can forgive himself for what he's done. I don't care if he does. And the pen? Oh, that. Apparently it was a gift from the principal to Hibino, back when he entered college. It seems to have been very important to Hibino. He apparently carried it with him everywhere. But he was calling himself Hibino by that time, not Uchida. Shouldn't the pen's engraving read TH? That's a good question, Rudy. Having said that, I mean, what do you say we go grab something to eat? Sure, let's go. Hey, what about me? So much has happened in the past few days. I just can't believe it. Prince Urabe turned out to be a decent man after all. His only fault was feeling pity for others and helping to cover up their mistakes. I mean, he was backing the wrong horse here though. By trying to protect one person, he got 2 more killed. And himself. Going through life as a childless widower, it seemed as though time and time again he would selflessly act in his friend's best interests. Doing the best he could, he helped Hibino through life, treating him as though he were his own. And about that pen, I realized the TU engraving must have stood for Mr. Hibino's original name, Tatsuya Uchida. However, I can't help but think when the principal had it made, he really meant for it to be Tatsuya Urabe, his son. This has been Famicom Tantei Club Part 2. I mean, there's really not much I can say because I'm not a visual novel guy. To me, visual novels are just like reading a book, except every now and then you get stuck for 5 minutes trying to figure out the right combination of talk commands. Like, it's a more frustrating version of reading a book. I don't know. It's not my thing. Like, I only play Phoenix Wright. And honestly, you can't really get around comparing it to Phoenix Wright because it's just a similar subject matter and it's... I felt there was a problem with pacing. There was a stretch in the center. And we just kept going to the same place, the same old staff room to get nothing done. You know? I don't know. This game could have been shortened a bit around the middle. And then expand the ending a bit. I wanted to be in the old school building, for fuck's sake. I find the ending very disappointing. Because I didn't get to solve the case at all. God damn it. What were they thinking with that? But yeah. Not much else I can say about it, because like I said, this is not my genre. So I can't judge it. I prefer to have more gameplay, like in Phoenix Wright. The one thing they could have done like Phoenix Wright was give me more things to look at. Like when you can check freely around the screen, there's nothing to look at. Like almost everything in the room is just the room. Like, ah, come on, come on. Give me stuff to look at. Logic editor. What does that mean? So I wouldn't be surprised if, like, if the remakes for the Switch got enough traction. Maybe they'll make a third game, and maybe they'll, like, expand them to be, like, to include some of the gameplay aspects that a Phoenix Wright had, maybe, you know? Because you can tell these games are a bit older. You can tell. Probably today as well. I mean, they probably didn't change them too much. I could see them adding more things to look at, because that would be simple to do, but it wouldn't change the core game too much. Anything else I want to say? Not really, not really. So I wonder how my experience would have been if I hadn't thought of that old story with a girl being like, with a girl's body being in an old school, but like that just I mean, it just reminded me so much of that I just latched onto that from a very early point. So I don't know. Would I have gotten that if I didn't know that kind of story? Maybe at some. I mean, they never even talked about the fact that. I mean, like I said, they never really talked about the old school building at all. Like, they never even gave my protagonist, who's kind of an idea to. There's a bit of overscan at the top there. They like never give your protagonist any. I mean, that too. The protagonist is kind of dumb. I mean, he needs everything spelled out to him. Like, he needs to look at the old school and be like, "Oh, this is a quiet place. We could talk to Hayama here." Like, come the fuck on. Think for yourself just a second. What was I going to say? Right. And because the game never mentioned it, my protagonist never thought of it. Like, they stopped investigating at the wall the fact that it was plastered. Right? And that's just all we ever talked about. They showed the mirror once, that's just it. I would like to investigate that more, but I didn't get the chance to. And that's my biggest critique that happened in the last episode. That just ended this abruptly without me being able to go in there. Ah. I was looking forward to that too. I wanted to find a dead body. But I wasn't allowed to. Two years later, on one particular day. Could that particular day be the beginning of Famicom Tantei Club Part 1? It's Detective Agency, Ryuji speaking. Hello, Detective. My name is Zenzo Tanabe. I'm calling from Yojin Village. There is a matter I wish to speak with you about in person. Is it a missing heir? Because that's the subtitle of Part 1. Yojin Village, that's not too far. Alright, I'll be there in about an hour. I'm going out. Ryuji, where are you going? To be continued in Famicom Tantei Club, Part 1. The Missing Heir. Which is not on the Super Nintendo. They only made the second one. In 1998, when the N64 was already like well out for 2 years. In Japan at least. Thank you very much, Ryuji Saito. We hope you've enjoyed the game. I'm not Ryuji Saito, but thanks. And so, having been promoted to the rank of detective, it's now time for your personality assessment. What? You are fundamentally reserved, but you tend to show your gentle side from time to time. Oh, is this what the quizzes, like the choices were about? Additionally, we get the feeling that sometimes you're a little absent-minded. Dude, I cracked the case in, like, episode 3. And let's see. Are you perhaps a little roguish some of the time? Nope. Not at all. This is the end of the personality assessment. I mean, I didn't do much. I did what seemed smart for the game. Well, how was that? If this personality assessment inaccurately described it in any way, we apologize for the inconvenience. You better. Have a nice day. And finally, it's time to find out how compatible you are with Ayumi. Why do I care? Ayumi's love rating. Oh no, we only got 12 out of 20 hearts. Woe is me. Hey Ryuji, how are you and Ayumi doing? I kinda dig you myself. I wonder if you noticed. If Ayumi ever treats you bad, you know where to come. I was just kidding. I'm sure Ayumi's very sweet. Okay, so we have multiple endings that are not in any way relevant to anything. Great! But next time is this library something else. What the fuck? Until then.